Hi everyone, welcome to Javaras. In the previous video, we customized the Spring security dependency using security filter chain, and instead of home authentication, we used basic authentication scheme to authenticate the users. Now in this video, we will see how to send requests from Angular app to Spring Boot application. That means whenever user clicks on any button or anything, we need to send some AJAX request to backend to retrieve some data or to post some data. So let's do that now. So yeah, so I will put the link to the previous video. So make sure you watch the previous video first before going ahead. And yeah, let's do that. So I will open the my IDE, which is IntelliJ IDEA. You can use anything you want. This is the app where we are working on. Okay, yeah. So we did this. We created this bean of type security filter chain, which for every request, the Spring Security wants it to be authenticated, and for authentication, we are using HTTP basic authentication scheme. Now, okay, we did not do anything like that in the previous video. So yeah, and in the application.properties, we specified the port 8081, the default username java-res, and default password is PWS. So we did that. We did not create any controller or anything, so I will just delete it. Okay. So, and let's open the client app, which is like you see we have this directory client. So we can work in this IDE as well, but I would like to open that in VS Code. So I will open that in VS Code. Okay. You can treat this as front end and this as back end here. Okay. Now let's create a controller to accept incoming request. So what we are going to do is we'll create a controller. So and that controller will allow us to transfer money to some other account. So it's like it will be like a banking controller. So we can create a new class here, and I want this class to be in a package called controller dot. The name of the class will be banking controller. Banking controller, and now in this will accept AJAX request, so it should be a REST controller. I will annotate it with REST controller, and I will give it a request mapping of banking. And here we will have a method called transfer, which will transfer money. So let's public. It will return a map of thing object, and name will be transfer money. So this method will handle any requests to this endpoint get banking transfer. So this banking is handled by this annotation, but this transfer we need to add another get mapping here. and transfer. Okay. Now, how will we get like where to transfer money and how much money do we want to transfer? So for that, there will be request parameters. First will be account. So this will be like where do we want to send the money? Let's say Bob, and another parameter will be amount. How much do we want to send? Let's say 2. That's it. So let's do that. So I will say at the rate request params and map string. Let's just say params. So where do we want to send the money? Let's say string to equal to params dot get account. And how much do we want to send? That will be integer amount equal to integer dot parse in params dot get account. But from which account do we want to send the money? Obviously, we want to send the money from the user who sent this request. That means from the logged in user. Now, how do we get the information about the logged in user? It's very easy with Spring Security. In any of these methods, we can just say principal and user. So now this user is the logged in user. So I will say string from will be user dot get name. So this will be the username of current user. So this user want to send this much money to this account. First, let's print out that we can see that we send some money. So I can say sending the from, that means sending amount from oh, and then let's return a map of this information like from to and amount. Okay. So that is done. Now we need to call this endpoint from the Angular application. So let's write some code there. So I have already done that in the GitHub repository. So we go to front end directory, front end, go to client, source, app, and app.component.html. This is the HTML code. Let's copy it and paste it in app.component.html. I will delete everything, paste it here. Okay. So it's giving some error because we don't have these methods in app.component.ts. Let's copy that as well. Adobe HTML app.component app.component.ts. Copy everything and app.component.ts, paste it. But we will get this error because here we are using HTTP client. In the app.module, we need to import HTTP client module. Import HTTP client module, and we need to put it in imports. HTTP client module. Okay. So now let's see what's going on. In the HTML, we have these text. Then we have input box. The first input is for where do we want to transfer the money, and for any change we are handling this request. And this is just changing the state in our app component, this transfer variable. And then we have this amount, and then we have a button transfer the money, and this calls is transfer money. Now if you see here transfer money, this dot we are using this HTTP client, and we are injecting it here using constructor injection in Angular. So we are doing this dot HTTP dot get, and we need to specify the URL. Now if you see, for the URL we are not specifying any domain name like localhost 8081 or anything, because our Spring Boot application and Angular application both are on the same domain, so we don't need to specify the domain explicitly here. It will just go to the its domain where it is running, and it is also running on port 8081, and the Spring is also running on port 8081, so we don't need to specify the domain. We only need to specify the path here, and this path is same, this banking transfer. And apart from this path, we need to specify these request params as well, and that we can specify in this options object. In the options object we have a key called params, and in the params we specify the account and the amount, and after that we are just printing the information in the log. So that is it, and we will see transfer money post in the later. So let's run the application. I will start the application here, and meanwhile I will also build my front end. So I will go to client. I will build the Angular application as we make changes. You can say npm watch, npm run watch. So the Angular will build the application, and it will watch for any changes, and it will put the build output in this target class and static this folder. So yeah, now let's go here localhost 8081, and since we are using HTTP basic authentication scheme, so uh, there is a pop-up. Now let's enter ours as username and pass as password. Let's enter. Now we can see this page. Welcome to bank, account, amount, and transfer money button. I will zoom. You can see it, right? Now let's inspect element, go to networks, because that's what we want to see, and clear these all logs. Let's put some amount here. I will put 100 here. Sorry, that was account. So account, let's say Bob. Amount we want to send 100. Click on transfer money, and you can see we send this transfer request. And if you go to headers, in the request header we have authorization header, and it's the same header. So with each request we are sending this authorization basic header, so that our server knows who is the user. And if you see its preview, its response, you can see from java-rush scope and amount is 100. That means by using this principle here, we are able to recognize who is the user which is currently logged in. And you can see in the logs as well, we are printing sending 100 from java-rush to scope. So that means it's working fine. Now don't do that in the real life or production. Like your get request should never change the state of the server. So what do I mean by that? Here, using the get request, we are sending amount from one account to another account. That means in the database we are reducing amount from one user and adding that amount to another user. So that is, we are changing the state of our database. That should not be done by GET request, because GET requests are not protected by cross-site request forgery, or in other words CSRF. So if you want to learn more about CSRF, you can go here. So this is a great source to learn any kind of security attacks. So here cross-site request forgery, you can read more about it from here. So why I am saying is that because anyone can send you a malicious link, and if you click on that link, your money is gone. So you can see that in action as well. So for example, if you go to this GitHub repository, front end, front end client, this folder, yeah, here. So I have created this. For example, you may get an email like that: "Hi user, you are our lucky customer," kind of things. Claim your iPhone. And for example, currently we are logged into our bank, and let's say we got this email. So the email will look like this, and instead of this link, we will see this: claim your iPhone. And whenever we click on that, it will open this link: http localhost and this link. So it will be same as like opening this link in a new tab. If I click on there, see, from Jawaras to hacker amount this. That means this much money has been transferred from our account to hacker's account. You can see in the logs as well, sending here, sending this much money from Jawaras to hacker. That means now we are broke. So you should never do that. Never use GET request to change state of your backend. So let's say this request was for just querying the money, like how much money you have in the account. So even if a hacker gets that information, there won't be any problem. But if hacker is able to transfer money, then there is a problem. Now you may ask how to do that, and the answer is very simple: use post request. So now let's do that. So here I will copy it, and it will be post. Now in the post request, don't send that information in header, send that in request body. For example, this will be the endpoint, that is correct, but we won't send any request parameters. So I will say this is the method post, this is the endpoint, and content type will be application JSON, and what will be the content? Content will be this. So it will be account, account will be like Bob, and then amount like 200 or something. So this will be the request body. So it will be post mapping, and we will return the same information and transfer money. Let's post. We will get the currently authenticated user using principal, and request body. I will just say instead of request from, it will be request body. Map string and here as well, here, and now that's it. We are able to convert that get to post request, and now let's see that in action. like how to send the post request from Angular to Spring. So I will go to the source code. Here we have transfer money post, this method. So this HTTP is HTTP client. It has a post method to send post request. And here as well, we just need to specify the endpoint. We don't need to specify the domain because the domain of Angular app and the backend is same. We just specify the endpoint and then we specify the request body. So our request body accept two things, account and amount. And after that, we just log the response. Now we need a button in our HTML to do that, invoke that function. I will copy, paste it here. Transfer money post. So this will send post request to transfer money. And here also I can say. So I will save it, and since Angular build is running in watch mode, so it will automatically build the Angular app again. Now let's go here, refresh it, and we can see we have one more button called transfer money post. Now let's send the money using post request. I want to send to Bob. Let's say 500 and transfer money. Click here. Now we can see it asks us for authentication. Now let's say we provide username and password. Click on enter. Now again it asks for username and password. So you will keep on doing that. It will continue asking for it. Let's say cancel. Go here, headers. In the response header, you can see it's 401. Even though we are sending authorization header. And in the logs as well, you can see the error. Fail to load resources. So, so what is going on? So the thing is that first of all, we need to refresh the app because we added one method here, but we did not refresh it. We did not restart the Spring app, so we need to do that first. Okay, now let's refresh it as well. Now we are here. Count will Bob. Let's say 500. Click on transfer money post, and you will get this. Even if you provide name password, you will keep getting that. So go to network and let's see, we are getting this error 401 error. Even though we are sending this authorization. So what is the problem? The problem is that Spring Security by default protect our app from CSRF injection, CSRF attack. So what do I mean by that? It means that we need to send a CSRF token from our Angular app to Spring Boot. Only then it will recognize that the form data or the JSON data is coming from the legitimate source. That is our Angular app. So, but it's like even we are not able to send the request to our own backend. So how to resolve that? Now there are two methods. First, you can disable CSRF protection. Or second, you can send CSRF token from Angular to Spring Boot. Now, if you disable CSRF protection, then anyone can send request to your server from any other website. So that you should never do that. You should never disable CSRF protection in Spring Security. So we need to implement the second method, which is sending CSRF token from Angular app to Spring app. But we will do that in the later videos. In this video, what we will do is we will just disable the CSRF protection. But again, you should never do that. We are doing this here just to see how the post request works. So go to security config, and here before HTTP basic, this says CSRF. Now here we can't use default customizer, because if you use default customizer, by default CSRF is enabled. So if you just keep it enabled, we want to be able to send the post request. So we need to disable the CSRF. So I can say like x dot disable, and I'm getting suggestion to replace lambda with method res preference, that so that now the CSRF is disabled. So let's refresh the app again and send the request again. So I will click on transfer money post. Now since the server is restarted, that's why I think we need to log in. Now you can see we are able to send the 500 from ours to. So let's refresh it now. Now send it, that we don't see that pop up after clicking the button. Let's say we want to send the money to Alice and transfer money post. You can see we are able to transfer the money. In the headers, you can see in the request we are sending authorization header, authorization basic, and yeah. So the same thing works for not only for basic authentication scheme, but for form based authentication as well. So let's say instead of HTTP basic, we want to use the form authentication. I will say form login here, and let's say I don't disable CSR protection here, and restart the server. Okay, now rerun the app. Now we need to sign in. So let's enter the ORS and password and sign in. We are able to sign in. So for account, let's say Alice 100 transfer money. So this will work because this is a GET request. But if we say transfer money post, this won't work. We are getting 403 forbidden because we are not sending CSRF token, and CSRF is enabled in Spring Security by default. Let's disable it and then restart the application. Okay, restart the app. Let's say Alice 150 transfer money working because it will work. Now here we are in the headers, in the request header. If you see, we are sending this cookie. We are not send we are sending this authorization header as well, but it is because we are using the we did not close the browser, so it is sending the authorization information again and again, but it won't send it if we reopen the browser. This time the important thing is this cookie, because we are using form based authentication. Now let's send money using post request. I will click on transfer money post, and you can see this transfer money, and you can see its preview here. And if we go to the log, you can see sending 250 from Javaras to Alice. This first is for get request, and the second is for post request. So that's how we send request from Angular application to Spring Boot backend, get and post request. For post request to work, either we need to disable CSRF protection, or we need to send CSRF token along with our request. You should never disable CSRF protection. So how to send CSRF token from Angular to Spring, that we will see in the later videos. So that's it for today. Bye everyone. Thank you.